You know, right where we are. So feel free to use your feet as well. Let your upper body relax. Let your head relax. We're going to have fun today. We're also learning things. But one thing that's really helpful is to release your head a little bit. That's where a lot of restrictions happen. Can I hear a little more from this corner? I think it's coming. Can you feel it in your feet? Okay. Can you let your head go? Just let your head be loose. Okay. I think we're almost ready. Can you mirror me a little bit? Yeah. 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 There we go. Take it over to this corner a little bit. Okay. Rainbow, are we okay. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Okay, so I will speak this in both language. So maybe Cantonese first. 多謝大家嚟到香港大學行為健康教研中心啦。咁亦都多謝大家一路支持緊何定邦全人治療呢一個工作坊同埋講座系列。咁咧我見到好多好熟悉嘅面孔，但係今日亦都見到一啲好新嘅面孔啦。特別知道我有啲朋友係響台灣啊其他嘅地方係專程嚟呢一個 workshop 同埋講座嘅。咁其實咧何定邦全人治療呢一個工作坊同埋講座係嚟到今日咧已經係今年度嘅第4個節目啦。咁無論你係第一次參加，抑或係一路以嚟都支持緊我哋咧，我都希望咧你哋能夠攞到佢呢個工作坊後邊一個好重要嘅訊息。呢個訊息咧就係無論你嘅生活同埋工作幾忙碌，我都希望你哋能夠去照顧到自己，同埋關顧到周圍嘅人嘅全人健康。我哋叫全人健康，即係話你嘅身體啦、心理啦、心靈啦，同埋精神嘅健康。咁呢個係呢個工作坊最重要嘅一個訊息。好啦，咁呢個工作坊咧，去到11月咧就會去到一個最重要嘅年度事件啦，就係我哋一個 symposium 一個研討會。咁就係11月16號會喺陸佑堂舉行嘅。咁我相信好多在座人士已經係註冊咗、登記咗啦，係嘛？因為咧，我哋嘅登記咗人數已經去到超過430啦，好厲害嚇！好早，即係一出嚟咁已經有好多人即刻去登記啦。咁亦都好強烈咧，咁介紹你哋啦，或者係睇下你哋自己嘅時間點樣樣啦。因為佢有之前同之後嘅一個工作坊，咁係由2個好出名嘅治療師。咁一個就係 Mr. Richard Gordon， 佢係一個叫做能量治療一個 Quantum Touch 之父啊，咁佢就會親自嚟到香港主持工作坊。咁另外咧就係一個藝術治療師嘅學者啦，亦都係好出名嘅一個藝術治療師啦，Professor Sean McNiff， 咁佢都會嚟到係主持工作坊嘅。 咁啊睇下你哋自己嘅時間如何啦。咁啊好強烈咁啊邀請你哋去參加，我相信你哋一定學到好多嘢㗎。咁喺呢度咧，我一定要多謝嘅咧就係呢一個工作坊啦嘅贊助人啦，咁就係何定邦家人啦。咁今日咧何太咧就係親自嚟咗嚟支持我哋啦。咁 Mrs. Ho。咁點解我特別多謝佢咧？因為咧，除咗佢哋喺經濟上面支持呢一個工作坊，讓到更多人去認識我哋嘅全人健康之餘咧，其實佢同埋佢嘅幾個女啊，咁都好花咗好多嘅心血啦、精力啦、時間啦，咁係同我哋一齊去做嘢嘅，咁真係令到每一件事咧都係好順利咁樣進行啦。你希望每一件事都做到最好，咁所以我一定要多謝佢哋嘅。Okay, so I speak in English. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to the University of Hong Kong Center on Behavioral Health, and especially welcome Dr. Fan Levy, and also many friends coming from different regions in Asia, like Taiwan, whatever, Macau, and nearby regions, especially for this workshop and lecture series. And I recognize many familiar faces and also some new faces today. The Danny D.B. Ho lecture series and workshop today is in its 4th event. So no matter you have been supporting us since the first event or you are the first time to join today, I hope you can get the meaning behind of this workshop series. Do you know what this is? Okay, this is about no matter how busy you are with your work or daily activities, I hope you can take care of yourself and especially take care of every aspect of your health. I mean physical health, mental health, and spiritual health. So this is the important message of this workshop series. And the Danny D.B. Ho workshop series and lecture will go to its high point in November 16. We have a symposium. We have the title as Creativity and Energy as the Sources of Healing. And I think that some of you have already registered because the you nod your head, right? Because the registration number now is over 430 already. So there are still some places. And I strongly recommend to join the pre and post symposium workshop, which will be conducted by 2 very famous therapists, Mr. Richard Gordon, who is the father of quantum touch, method of energy healing, and also Professor Sean McNiff, who is a very renowned and famous scholar in art therapy. So I believe that you will learn a lot from them. And I would like to express my gratitude to our sponsor, Danny Ho family. And Mrs. Ho is joining us today and sitting in the front. Why I especially want to mention that again and again, because they not only give us financial support, which is very important, but Mrs. Ho and her daughters, Tanya, Sylvia, and also some of Mrs. Ho's staff, actually work very hard with us. They spend a huge amount of energy, time, and effort to make everything happen in an excellent way. So thank you very much. So now I have to give the floor and time to Dr. Fan Levy, the speaker today, and for her talk, the use of arts and dance in psychotherapy. So let me introduce a little bit about Dr. Levy, which I think you read something on the pamphlet already. Dr. Levy is a board-certified dance movement therapist. I have to mention that if you are using the translator instrument, you can wear this now because the translation will start now. Okay? So Dr. Levy is not only a dance movement therapist, she is also a psychodynamic psychotherapist, an integrative arts therapist, and psychodramatist. And she studied with Moreno and Siroka. For psychodrama, I think some of you may know Moreno is the father of psychodrama. So Dr. Levy now is a private practice in New York, and she also trains psychotherapists in her training center. And she has offered 2 books, which you can see outside the room, and in dance therapy. And this book is especially this big book. We call it big book because it's really big. This one. And this book is especially recommended by many therapists and teachers in the field to be the textbook of dance therapy. Okay, so I'm now giving the time and floor to Dr. Levy.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, hi. Can you hear me? Is this on? Yeah, I think it's on. Okay. So I started with a little movement because it's a nice way to kind of relax some of the barriers and help you relax, help me relax, and connect a little bit. And one of the major aspects of dance therapy is the connection in movement, the mirroring. Rainbow, did you mention about photography? For the cases.
我會用中文解説先啦嚇。咁咧，今日Dr. Levy 佢嘅講座裏面咧，有啲部分會提及一啲佢之前工作過嘅個案，咁有一啲畫像會 show 出嚟嘅。咁請大家咧就因為我哋都要保密翻嗰啲個案嘅私隱啦，咁所以所有請大家今日呢個講座裏面嘅內容show 啲 PowerPoint 就唔好拍攝，即係錄影或者影相嗰啲都唔好啦。咁希望即係尊重翻佢哋嘅工作咁樣咯。
I can say it in English. Okay, thank you. Yeah, out of respect for the patient's work and confidentiality, I have permission to present, but I don't have permission for anyone else to take any photos with them, which I'm sure you understand. Thank you. So I'm just curious, how many people here have been exposed to dance therapy or are doing dance therapy? Can you just show me? Okay, good. And art therapy? Okay. Psychotherapy. People who are giving psychotherapy or even in it. Okay. So thank you. And people who don't have much connection yet, let's say, with the therapeutic fields. You may just be here for general knowledge. Okay, thank you. So I've been doing this work really for over 30 years, and I really love it, and I love teaching it, because it's such a powerful way to reach people and to give people a choice to speak in their language, the language that really expresses their essence. And we've kind of all discovered quite a long time ago that just traditional talking doesn't reach everybody. And many people will accept a verbal relationship with a therapist, even if it's not working for them really well, because they don't know that they can be reached, possibly through other mediums. And so I think that's one of the most important tenets of the work that I do and many of us in the audience do, is that we reach people through the essence of the way they experience life. And I have a cute example, I thought, of this. The other day, a young friend of mine brought over her 14-month-old boy, and I gave him a puppet. I just wanted to interact with him, so I gave him a puppet, and he was like, yeah. I gave him some crayons, and he was like, yeah. And I went to my basement, and I found a beautiful red ball about this size, and he's only 14 months old. And as soon as I gave it to him, he went wild. And all of a sudden, he's only 14 months. He's throwing and rolling. And it was like I found him. I found this boy in that moment. And that's exactly what we do in the creative arts therapy and the integrative arts. We try to find the place that the person really lives, really experiences life. And we don't try to put them into one box and have them all express themselves in just one way. And it's different for everybody. Some people need multiple creative expression. Some people are fine with movement or art. There's always some talking to help with the integration and to make sure that I understand what's going on. So it's not important to use all the arts all the time or any of the arts. That's not what's important. What's important is finding who is this person with you, who is this client, and how do they speak, and how will I reach them. And even if my expertise is not as strong in one area, let's say music, as it might be in dance, that doesn't mean I can't listen and hear. So in my office, I have a little keyboard. I have a string instrument that some of my patients like to pick up and play, just improvise on. So I try to set a stage for them or a place where they know they can be themselves and that I will connect with them. So there's two things. There's finding the medium through which they speak, and then there's hearing that medium so that they know that you receive what they have to say on a deep level. And the receiving is part of the healing. The theory that I like to use is really not a complicated theory, but it's the understanding of the theory on a deep level, and I feel myself that I'm always learning it over and over again. And that is that we are all made up. We don't mature uniformly. This was a Freudian concept. In other words, we're not born and then it's not that we, well, let me say it this way. Margaret Mahler, have you heard, you're familiar with Margaret Mahler? She had a book she called Two Births, the psychological birth of the child, but first the physical birth. And the physical birth, we know, is finite. It happens. But the psychological birth, the separation from the parent, is a process of the individual, the baby, who grows up, defining themselves more and more as they mature as a separate person, who eventually is able to give back to society as their own person, not as the extension of the parents. So let me try to say that again another way. Margaret Mahler, really helped us to understand that a child, through their developmental years, actually feels still attached to the parents. In some ways, they don't feel themselves as a separate being. And that process of separation and self-definition, defining of the self, goes on for a lifetime. And in the therapeutic relationship, what you're doing is helping the person to discover and define themselves. So Freud believed that he had, I think, the analogy of a stair, that development is like walking up a stair, and that we leave a little bit of mud or some part of ourselves on each step, and that in our unconscious, we are still holding earlier levels of our development, and that those earlier levels come with us into the present. Sometimes those earlier levels don't cause much trouble for a person. Sometimes they cause a lot of inner conflict. And the arts are a way to access those parts. They're nonverbal. The arts can bypass the intellectual part of the brain and access some of the more primitive parts that were not necessarily given verbal language. How are we doing so far? Okay? Okay. So, and different stages of one's development can be more amenable to different art forms. And you see how children like to color, right? So you know certain ages, there's a lot of coloring, clay. But it's not, that's just one aspect. It also could be that the essence of the person, that they're able to express their essence most through art or clay or dance. And what you're trying to do is integrate the older selves that have not yet been integrated into the mature self, so that the mature self feels comfortable and in balance. And the cases I'm going to present today are of people who were very much out of balance. And I think you'll find them interesting. And I'm going to show you some of their artwork and how I worked with them. So the methods that I'm using are called projective techniques. And they became really popular, and the idea of projective techniques started in around the 1940s. And actually, my mentor was one of the originators of something called animal drawing analysis. His name was Sidney Levy, and he's not related to me. But it was a nice coincidence. So I'm going to, I'll be doing some figure drawing analysis because that's part of my background, and those drawings are also very expressive and helpful. So these are called projective methods. The concept of projection is you take something from within you, from within the psyche, or possibly from in the muscle memories, and they come out and are projected onto a drawing, let's say, or into a movement, and you will see that in the cases. Okay, so the goal is to bridge, is for me as the therapist to bridge to and access the essence of the person. The therapeutic relationship is one of the strongest vehicles. You can't do the arts without a strong therapeutic relationship with the patient. And if people try to use the methods without that strong empathic connection, you can actually do damage. Because the person, these are methods, and if you use them like pushing buttons as opposed to from an empathic place, those buttons can push deep, deep, deep feelings, and you may not be ready to receive them. So you can't use the methods without being really comfortable with the patient and feeling a deep, supportive connection. Okay. So another way I like to look at things, and you'll see this in the cases, is that to look at people as they exist on a continuum. So one continuum might be in terms of sexual identification. You might have maleness, well, actually on the left, femaleness, and maleness at the other end. And that we all have in us aspects of maleness and femaleness. But society does not necessarily allow us to comfortably experience all sides. And so what happens is certain sides of the self are not seen necessarily and accepted by the parental figures, or maybe by teachers, or if you had a dance teacher or a music teacher, it could be anywhere. But for the child to be seen in all aspects, you need a very non-judgmental, accepting parental experience. And parents, as I say, that could also represent church or any of the hierarchies. But if you can see and accept all the parts of the person, let's say, if we're just dealing, let's say, with femininity, masculinity, and all the variations in between that exist within us, then the person then becomes more comfortable themselves with the, those different aspects. Does that make sense? Okay. So another area of continuum is symbiosis, where a person feels completely attached and almost inside of the parental figure that they have not separated, which again you'll see in the cases, versus complete separation and adult development. And we all exist somewhere in the middle, in between. And on a good day, we may exist more on one part of the continuum, and sometimes on a bad day or a sad day or something could happen during the day that affects you, then you may find yourself on a different part of that continuum. So again, what's necessary is to provide an environment for the patient where they can be comfortable with who they are in the moment. And that's also the beauty of the arts, is that the arts allow you to be who you are in the moment without judgment. Okay. So on the continuum also we have, this is from old Freudian work, which I think is still very helpful, but you have id on one side. Id is the instinctual drive that is part of the part of us that's part of the animal kingdom. It's unshaped, it's not formed, it's just energy and drive. You could describe it as fire, it's fiery. And on the other end, well, then in the middle, you have superego, and then on the other end, ego. So we're going to talk about that development. And it's always helpful when we're talking about these things for you to think even about yourself. Where are you on these continuums? Does it make sense to you? Because the more you understand from your own who you are, the greater you're able to then give and understand your patients, and they will feel that from you. Okay. So the other thing we're looking for, also on a continuum, is that some people experience themselves as a single self. Other people may experience themselves as having multiple selves inside of them. And actually, I'm going to put the multiple selves on this side, because that's where symbiosis was. And when there's symbiosis, the tendency to experience yourself a little bit more divided and the sense that you have there's other aspects of yourself can be stronger. And then there's total integration and a sense of being one single self on the other side. But again, we're all somewhere in between. We all have different experiences of self at different times. Excuse me one sec. The cases that I'm going to show, whoops. One of them is a case of a woman who was diagnosed with schizophrenia. And you'll see how the role, even though her diagnosis is kind of a serious diagnosis, but you'll still see how these id, ego, and superego and repression, how they affected her and how the arts helped her to stay in touch with herself. And so she had less of a need to have a break. Sorry. And the other woman, in contrast, the one woman was not functioning on a very high level. The other woman's name is Connie, and she actually functioned on a very high level and was in a nurturing role, a helping role in her profession. But inside, she was very not integrated and needed, the arts were the only way to reach her, to bypass her intellectual defenses and to find her spirit and to let that out. So you'll be seeing that in these cases. Okay. So one of the things I'm looking for when I do my work is to find out what's the tug of war that might be going on in a person? Who are their inner selves? And what's the dialogue that's going on between their selves? And by getting in touch with that, I can help them to know themselves and to release some of the things that cause their anxiety or depression. Because the more that the inner selves are people aware of inner dialogues that go on within them? Can I see? Just if you're aware of, you know, well, should I do this? Shouldn't I do that? And should I take that job, not take that job? Yeah? Okay. Well, oftentimes there's certain symbolic reasons for the inner dialogue. So just a simple example is the other day, a patient of mine who became somewhat dependent on her parents because of a severe case of learning disability, but a very, very capable woman. But she was so used to her mother helping her through situations that she lost track of her own strength and her own abilities. But I could clearly see her strengths in the therapy. So at one point, she was offered something at work, a very big position. And I could see that she started rationalizing why she shouldn't take this position. And so, you know, sometimes when people are talking, I have a vision or an image of what might help them. So in this case, I felt there was a tug of war within her. So I asked her, and I did it with her, I asked her to play with me and do a tug of war. So she pulled one way, I pulled the other way. And she created the role. When she pulled one way, she said, I'm too small, I can't do this, I can't. It's too big a job. And then when she got to the other side of the rope, and she pulled this way, she said, she got upset with that side. And she said, you can do it. We can do this. You know, let me do it. But she was surprised because I didn't tell her what to say. And that's the beauty of this work, that the body and the imagery, if you kind of create the drama, the insights pop out. And she was like, oh my God. It became so clear to her that she had a fight within her. And part of her wanted to stay the child, but a bigger part of her wanted to take the position and to be an adult. And she had it in her to do it. So the work really works when you can access the inner conflict. And it's the inner conflict that causes the pull in two directions that causes the anxiety in a person. And when the anxiety gets so great that they can't function, then you get depression. So, okay. Before we go to the case, since you're sitting now for a while, would you like to just try a very small movement exercise? Great. That's really the best way to learn. So let's try this. Do you have room to stand? You don't have to if you don't. But I'd like you to imagine yourself, and people can stand, people can also move up here if they want to. I'd like you to imagine yourself inside a big bubble. Okay? Now, see if you can feel the walls of the bubble. Okay? See if you can feel it, because I want the imagery is kind of important. So kind of, it's all around you. Yeah, please feel free to come up. Especially you dance people who are more comfortable with movement, you can help us. Okay, so feel this bubble, okay? Now, the walls are a little bit flexible, but they're also a little bit hard, a little bit tough. Okay, what I'd like you to do is shape the bubble the way you would feel comfortable. So that if you want the bubble smaller, bring it smaller. If you want it wider, push it out. If you want more leg room, make more leg room. If you want it to contain you in a small place, pull it in, okay? So just take a little time to imagine your ideal bubble and how it would be around you. And it could change too, so feel free to have changing shapes. some of you may actually feel that you want to get out of the bubble. So you can try to do that symbolically also in movement and let yourself find your way out of the bubble if you want to. There's no right or wrong. It's all about just what you're experiencing. While you're doing this, I'm going to add an image so you can keep moving. I'd like you to imagine that there's a color with you in the bubble. And what color is it? And how does that color move? Some of you may find yourself doing this just in your mind, and that's okay too. Imagery works. Okay. And what about adding another color? What other color might you want to add to your environment? See if you can shape that color. Your body can become like a paintbrush. Your arms can become like paintbrushes. So you're shaping your environment through imagery, through color, through movement. Now you might want to add something else to your environment, like maybe a flower or a plant, anything, a car, a musical instrument. Is there anything you'd like to bring in to your environment to make it richer and to be more of an expression of yourself? It may seem even silly. It could be a pet, could be a person, a book, an idea. And you can use your mind, use your imagery, and you can also use your body to shape it. Could be a favorite poem, a philosophy. Okay, so thank you for trying that. We'll bring it to a close, however you would like to close the experience. Okay, thank you for participating in that. So this is just a kind of a small exercise, and I purposely tried to integrate movement, art, visual, color, objects, which help often with the dramatic aspect of our experience. And it also helps just to awaken the body and the senses to the possibilities of what you may want to say and want to experience. Because a lot of things go unnoticed in our lives, and they have to be repressed because we have jobs to do and families to raise and kids to feed and homework, whatever your stage of life is. There's always a long list of things to do. And we have to do them. We have to help our patients to do what they have to do. But we also have to help them to be, not just to do. And the being is what fuels the ability to do. Because if you really are being and what's inside of you is open, and there's an open flow inside of you, the energy in you to accomplish the goals that you have set out is far more available. Okay? So we'll be doing more experientials in the 2 workshops that are coming up tomorrow and the next day, and we'll be processing them and doing much more creative work than we're able to do today. So the cases are kind of fun and complex, so I'm going to take a deep breath and get ready for them. Okay. So if you have questions, please feel free. Your questions are often very helpful. Some people may have to go, but I think that those people who would like to stay or ask questions, we have a little time.
OK， 咁好多謝Dr. Fran Levy 啦。咁有啲朋友咧要趕住走唔緊要嚇。咁如果有啲朋友想問問題都可以繼續嘅。So you can stay or you want to leave, so feel free to go to do whatever. And for those who want to ask questions, please go on.
Okay, thank you. Oh, there's a question over there.
Hi, thanks for your sharing today, but I think it's more about the drawing, the artistic expression. But related to dance, how would you think the dancing therapy really help the person? For example, how could you define the dancing? Is it just
I'm sorry.
some movement?
It's a good question.
Or some...
Yes, let me just say, because I forgot to say this, I had her interpret her drawings in dance. So that's why your questions are so important, because there are things I can't forget to say. So all of the drawings were interpreted in dance. They were muscularized. So remember, we see them on the page, then we take it back in and we reprocess it again through movement. And then the intellectual reflection eventually happens. So yes, that's a very important question. So interpretive dance comes from the artwork in this case. And sometimes the dance starts, actually, and then the artwork comes after. Okay. I'm glad you asked that question. Anybody else? Okay, so I hope that means I was clear. And it was fun talking with you all today. Your question? Oh.
Thank you very much for your sharing. Very great. The picture is very great. I have a question. How did you guide those clients to draw this picture?
Okay. I just asked the person to draw a picture of a person and then to write a story. And I use them both for expressive work, but also they're diagnostic, so I can see what's happening with the person. And I do it once a year. Okay. So that's the request. But there are other times when I just have people do creative drawings. But I didn't. Today I mostly showed you the drawings that were very specific. Draw a picture of a person, give me a story, then draw a picture of a person of the opposite sex from your first drawing, and give me a story, and then draw an animal. Yeah, and I do, in the beginning, I just use pen or ink. I don't use color, except for the different kinds of drawings, then I use color. Okay? Okay. Any other question? Over here?
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
So for most of your clients, do they come to you themselves or get referred by other person, like the doctor? Because that makes a difference, right?
It's a good question, yes. Sometimes they come through other professionals who know that I use the arts. Sometimes I get people who are not don't ever know, they may not ever even know that I'm really an integrative arts therapist. They may come to me just for psychodynamic psychotherapy. Sometimes I get referrals from the dance therapy schools or the art therapy master's programs. So they're very familiar with the work. So I have a whole variety. And I use the arts where they're helpful, and sometimes I may not use them as often or at all. The other? No? Okay. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you.
I just want to know, is there a training for integrative arts therapy, or do you have to learn different things from different schools?
Yeah, it's a good question. Now, Leslie, I think, used to do it. Leslie College in New Hampshire, in the United States. Pratt does do some integrative teaching. And some schools give you a degree in an integrative approach. There's not that many, though. And years ago, when I first started doing it, it wasn't looked at that, people weren't that happy about it. They felt like it wasn't good to dilute your art form. But to me, it was about the client, not about me. And if the client needed to do it, then that's what was important. And I felt comfortable with all the arts, and I enjoy them. So it just worked for me. So.
Yes, I think when we want to do the integrated art work,
yes.
we need to learn to use different media, whatever it is art, whatever it is movement and music, even music. So I think in the training we need to know about that. Yeah, but while we are in this center, actually we are preparing a master program in expressive art therapy. That means we want to train therapists to use different kind of artistic medium to help our clients.
Oh, Rainbow, I didn't mention the books. Should I think? Right. In case you want to buy the books, you could take a look at them. They're up here. And this one has the chapter on the integrative arts, but it's also I think we'd mentioned it's like a textbook for dance therapy, but there's one chapter that emphasizes this work. And I think if you're interested in this work, you should read that chapter. And then this one is largely dance therapy, but I called it dance and other expressive art therapies because each of the therapists kind of integrates other art forms with dance.
Okay, if no more questions, I think thank you very much for your attention.
Oops, I have another question.
Or you can talk to us as well, individually.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming. Please spend some time to fill in the questionnaire for us and pass it to our staff outside. So just in case if you're still interested, the workshop on tomorrow and Saturday with Fran, there will still some chances that you can apply. So you can check out the application form, and also the November workshop. You can check out the information that you have in your seats. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi. What? Oh, yes. Yeah.
Everything we can